The year was 2142, and Earth was a bustling hive of technological marvels. Skyscrapers pierced the clouds, hover cars zipped through the sky, and citizens enjoyed a life of comfort and prosperity. Humanity had reached new heights, thriving in peace and unity. However, that serenity was shattered one fateful afternoon when a colossal fleet of sleek, ominous ships pierced the atmosphere. Their metallic exteriors glinted menacingly against the sun, casting long shadows over the cities below. As alarms blared across New Chicago, panic swept through the streets. The once bustling city fell into chaos as people scrambled for shelter, eyes glued to the sky. News channels flashed emergency broadcasts, warning of an impending invasion. Reports filtered in from around the globe, detailing the arrival of the HFY, a race of alien women, warriors bred for conquest. Their leader, Empress Styra, had made it clear: humanity was to surrender or face annihilation. At the heart of the chaos, Captain Sarah Mercer stood at the command center of the Earth Defense Coalition. Her sharp, dark eyes scanned the screens filled with data and images of the alien fleet. Sarah was no stranger to conflict. She had trained for this moment her entire life. With her tightly cropped hair and a stance that radiated confidence, she exuded the strength of a natural leader. Around her, a mix of officers and soldiers buzzed with tension, their faces reflecting a blend of fear and determination. "Commander, they're positioning themselves over major cities," one analyst shouted, fingers dancing over the holographic displays. "They're not here for diplomacy." "Shut down all civilian systems," Sarah commanded, her voice cutting through the panic. "We can't afford to have civilians caught in the crossfire. Prepare the fighters and get me a live feed of their communication." As the team scrambled into action, Sarah took a deep breath, steadying her nerves. She'd fought in countless simulations, but this was different. This was real, and the stakes were higher than ever. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her as she thought of the millions of lives depending on her leadership. Suddenly, the main screen flickered to life, revealing a figure bathed in shadow. Empress Zyra appeared, her visage both stunning and terrifying. She possessed an otherworldly beauty, with long, cascading silver hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to glow with a fierce intelligence. Her voice resonated, smooth yet commanding, as she addressed the world. "People of Earth, I am Empress Styra of the HFY. Your world is now under our dominion. You will surrender your leaders and your technology, or face the consequences of your defiance. Your men are inferior, and we require them for our breeding programs. Accept your fate, or we will obliterate your cities." Gasps filled the command center as Tyra's words echoed across the globe. The audacity of her demand sent a ripple of shock through the room. Sarah's heart raced. She felt the anger boiling within her. "Fools," she muttered, her voice low but fierce. "They think they can just waltz in and take what they want. Not on my watch." Turning to her team, she said, "We will not let this happen. Gather all available resources. I want every pilot ready within the hour. We're going to show them what humanity is made of." As her orders echoed through the command center, a renewed sense of determination swept through the ranks. The fear that had initially gripped them began to transform into resolve. They were not just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for their future, their families, and their very humanity. In the streets, people began to rally. Citizens poured into public squares, hoisting makeshift banners with slogans like, "We will not surrender," and "Fight for Earth." A wave of defiance washed over the populace, igniting a spirit that had long been dormant. Sarah's conviction fueled their resolve. Minutes later, fighter jets soared into the sky, leaving trails of smoke behind them. Sarah watched from the command center, her heart pounding in her chest. The time for talk was over. It was time to fight. As the first jets engaged with the alien fleet, a fierce determination ignited within her. They might be outnumbered, but humanity had something the HFY lacked, an unyielding spirit. "Let's show them what we're made of," Sarah whispered to herself, the fire of defiance lighting her eyes. She knew that the battle for Earth had just begun, and she would stop at nothing to defend her home. The sky above New Chicago was alive with chaos as fighter jets roared into action. Sarah Mercer, seated in the command center, watched the live feeds with bated breath. A mix of pride and anxiety coursed through her veins as she observed her pilots, brave men and women flying into the heart of danger. Each jet was a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness of the XLNary fleet. As the first skirmishes erupted, explosions lit up the sky, a symphony of warfare echoing through the air. Sarah's heart raced as she tracked the movement of her pilots on the screen, shouting orders and coordinating their efforts. The XLNary forces had underestimated humanity's ingenuity, and her team was about to show them just how resourceful they could be. "Engage the left flank," she shouted, her voice steady even amidst the chaos. "Use the urban landscape to our advantage. Stay close to the buildings. We can use them as cover." The jets maneuvered skillfully through the towering skyscrapers, darting in and out like fireflies in a storm. With every passing second, the stakes grew higher. One of the jets suddenly took a direct hit, spiraling down in a blaze of flames. Gasps filled the command center as the screen flickered and went dark. "No," Sarah exclaimed, her fists clenching in frustration. "We can't lose them. Not like this." A nearby officer grimly relayed the news. "Captain, we're receiving reports from other cities. The XLNary are targeting major urban centers across the globe. It's a coordinated assault. Then we need to coordinate our defenses. Prepare the ground troops. We'll set up barricades and engage them where they're vulnerable." Sarah replied, her mind racing. She knew they had to regroup quickly or risk losing entire cities. As the command center buzzed with activity, a feed from another part of the city revealed a group of civilians rallying together. Armed with makeshift weapons, bats, pipes, and anything they could find. They chanted slogans of defiance. "We will not surrender. Fight for Earth." Their passion ignited something deep within Sarah, a flicker of hope in the face of despair. But just as spirits began to rise, a wave of XLNary ships descended from the sky, their sleek forms blocking out the sun. A flash of energy lit up the city as they unleashed a barrage of missiles. The shockwaves rattled the command center, and Sarah felt the ground tremble beneath her. "Get those civilians to safety," she barked, urgency lacing her tone. "We can't afford to lose innocent lives." As the ground troops mobilized, Sarah's heart sank. Her team was being pushed back. The aliens were advancing. She could see their battle formations on the screens. Disciplined, ruthless, and organized. It became painfully clear that the XLNary were not only technologically advanced, they were also trained in tactics honed over centuries of conquest. A flicker of anger ignited in her chest. "They think we're weak," she murmured, determination etching lines on her face. "They think they can take our home without a fight." In a moment of clarity, Sarah made a bold decision. "We need to go on the offensive. Initiate a counterattack on the eastern flank. Target their command ships. If we can disrupt their leadership, we can turn the tide." The room erupted in activity as her team scrambled to execute her orders. In the midst of it all, Sarah felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. Every decision could mean the difference between life and death. She had to rally her team not just as soldiers, but as defenders of their way of life. Meanwhile, a transmission from one of the pilots, Lieutenant Rhea, broke through the din. "Captain, we're engaging the command ships, but we need backup. There are too many of them." "Hold your position, Rhea. We're sending reinforcements," Sarah replied, her voice steady. She glanced at her team. "We've got to give them a chance. Let's move." As they prepared to deploy, Sarah couldn't shake the image of the civilians fighting back with whatever they could find. Their courage reminded her of humanity's spirit, indomitable and fierce. She realized that this fight was not just about the military. It was about every single person on Earth willing to stand and defend their home. The command center erupted into a flurry of activity as ground forces mobilized and fighter jets roared off the launch pads. They were no longer just a defense force. They were humanity's last stand. Sarah felt the adrenaline surge through her as she prepared to join the fight, her heart pounding with the belief that they could win. As the jets took to the skies, Sarah tightened her grip on the controls. This was the moment that would define them, the spark that would ignite a rebellion. With the stakes higher than ever, she prepared to show the HFY the true meaning of humanity's strength. "Let's show them what we're made of," she shouted, her voice ringing out as the jets soared into the fiery sky, ready to reclaim their world. As the chaos of battle raged on in New Chicago, Captain Sarah Mercer found herself grappling with the unexpected weight of leadership. The urgency of the situation intensified, and with each passing moment, the losses mounted. Reports flooded in of heavy casualties and structural damage across the globe, but amidst the grim updates, a flicker of hope emerged from the shadows. In the aftermath of their skirmishes, rumors began to circulate about a faction of HFY rebels, disenchanted warriors opposing the ruthless regime of Empress Spira. Driven by curiosity and the flickering hope of forming an alliance, Sarah gathered a small team of trusted soldiers: Lieutenant Rhea, her fearless right-hand pilot; Commander Elias, a veteran tactician with years of experience; and Mara, a tech specialist whose brilliance had saved them on numerous occasions. Together, they devised a plan to seek out the rebel faction, hoping to learn more about the HFY's internal strife and possibly gain allies in their desperate struggle. The team embarked on a perilous journey to the outskirts of New Chicago, where the HFY presence was weaker, hoping to remain undetected. The city lay in ruins, buildings crumbling, and the scent of smoke filled the air. Yet the determination in their hearts burned brightly. As they navigated through the debris, Sarah recalled the fierce speeches she'd given to rally her troops. If they could find these rebels, maybe they could harness that same spirit of resistance. After hours of searching, they finally stumbled upon a hidden encampment in the shadows of a ruined skyscraper. The atmosphere was tense. The HFY warriors were battle-hardened, their expressions wary. But there at the forefront stood Valera, a striking figure with short-cropped silver hair and piercing emerald eyes. Her posture radiated authority, a testament to her leadership among her people. "Why should we trust you?" Valera asked, her voice steady and challenging as she eyed Sarah's team. "You're the same species that has been fighting to keep us enslaved." "We're fighting for our lives," Sarah replied, her frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "And if we don't unite, we'll all be crushed under HFY's regime. We have a common enemy." The tension in the air was palpable, and Sarah could feel her team's uncertainty, but she also sensed the flicker of interest in Valera's eyes. The HFY warrior had seen the devastation caused by their Empress's orders, and perhaps that shared experience was enough to bridge the gap between them. Elias stepped forward, speaking with conviction. "If we can work together, we can outsmart Syra. We know how her forces operate, and you know their weaknesses. Together, we could turn the tide." Valera considered their words, her gaze flicking between Sarah and her team. "What do you propose?" "An assault on one of Syra's command ships," Sarah replied, her heart racing with anticipation. "If we can disrupt their communication and leadership, we can destabilize their forces and buy ourselves some time to regroup." After a tense moment, Valera nodded. "Very well. I'll gather my warriors. But know this, if you betray us, I will not hesitate to fight against you." The alliance was forged in that moment, a delicate thread connecting two disparate factions. As Sarah and her team began to strategize with the HFY, they realized the value of each other's knowledge and experience. The HFY brought their advanced technology, while the humans offered tactical ingenuity and a fierce determination born from years of hardship. The following days were filled with intense preparations. Sarah found herself developing a camaraderie with Valera, sharing stories of their people's histories and the burdens they carried. Valera spoke of her upbringing in the extraordinary elite, the pressure to conform to expectations, and the disillusionment that had led her to rebel against her own kind. In turn, Sarah recounted her struggles, the loss of friends and loved ones in the ongoing war, and her determination to protect the future of her species. As they trained together, an unbreakable bond formed. The human and culinary warriors began to trust one another, their laughter echoing through the camp, signaling a growing sense of unity. They learned to respect each other's strengths, blending their combat styles into a formidable force. Finally, the day of the planned assault arrived. The joint forces gathered in the makeshift war room, adrenaline surging as they finalized their strategy. Sarah stood at the center, a fierce fire burning in her eyes. Today, we fight not just for our survival, but for our shared future. Together, we will show Xyra that her tyranny ends here. Her words ignited a fierce determination in the hearts of all present. As they launched into the skies, humanity and Selneri fought side by side, united by purpose and fueled by a shared vision. Sarah took a deep breath, glancing at Valera, who met her gaze with fierce determination. In that moment, they both knew that their alliance was more than a strategy. It was a promise to fight, to protect, and to forge a new legacy free from oppression. As the aircraft soared toward the looming command ship, Sarah felt the weight of hope lifting her spirit. Together, they would defy the odds and reclaim their destinies. The joint forces of humanity and the extraordinary soared through the clouds, adrenaline pumping as they approached the massive command ship hovering ominously above the remnants of New Chicago. Sarah Mercer sat in the cockpit of her fighter, the hum of the engines and the chatter of her crew filling the air. But her focus remained razor-sharp. Today, they were not just attacking an enemy. They were striking at the heart of tyranny. As they drew nearer, the size of the command ship became even more imposing, its sleek design bristling with weaponry. Visual on the target, Sarah announced, her voice steady despite the chaos that surrounded them. "We're breaching their defenses. Valera, you and your team take the starboard side. We'll hit them from the port." Valera nodded, her emerald eyes blazing with determination. "Let's show them what we're made of." As they closed in, a wall of laser fire erupted from the command ship's turrets. Sarah's heart raced as she maneuvered her fighter, weaving between the deadly beams of energy. "Stay sharp," she shouted to her crew. "We're in their territory now." The first clash was fierce. The combined forces of humans and Salneri worked in perfect synchronicity. Rhea piloted her jet with expert precision, taking out enemy turrets with pinpoint accuracy, while Valera's warriors provided covering fire from their own advanced ships. For the first time in the war, it felt as if they were truly united, blending their strengths to form an unbreakable front. As they breached the outer defenses, Sarah's pulse quickened. "Prepare for boarding," she commanded. "We'll infiltrate and disable their communications. We can't let Sarah regroup her forces." A chorus of affirmatives echoed through the comms. With a surge of determination, Sarah led her team into the heart of the command ship, cutting through the airlock and bursting into the sterile corridor beyond. The sleek metallic walls gleamed ominously under the dim lighting, and the scent of ozone filled the air. It was eerily quiet, too quiet. They moved quickly, adrenaline coursing through their veins, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As they navigated the labyrinthine halls, they stumbled upon a series of glass chambers filled with strange, pulsating machinery. Inside, they caught glimpses of captured human soldiers, men and women who had fought bravely, now prisoners of war. No, Sarah's heart sank as she recognized the faces of some of her former comrades. "We need to free them." Valera's eyes narrowed with resolve. "They're being used for experimentation. Thyra believes in creating a superior race, using both excelinary and human DNA." The rage in her voice was palpable, fueled by the injustice they had witnessed. "This ends today," Sarah vowed, her heart pounding with a renewed sense of purpose. "We'll free them and destroy this facility." They pressed on, the sounds of distant alarms echoing through the ship. Just as they rounded a corner, they were ambushed by a group of Selneri guards, their sleek armor gleaming menacingly. The ensuing firefight was brutal. Sarah's instincts kicked in as she dodged blaster fire, her training guiding her every move. Rhea provided cover fire while Valera engaged the guards head-on, her blades flashing with deadly precision. With each fallen guard, Sarah felt a surge of vindication. They were not only fighting for their lives, but for the freedom of those trapped in the glass chambers. Finally, they pushed through to the central command room, a vast chamber filled with holographic displays and consoles. "We need to shut down their systems," Sarah commanded, moving to a nearby console. Mara worked quickly at her side, her fingers flying over the keys as she accessed the ship's network. "Looks like their communications are all centralized here," Mara said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "If I can overload the system, it'll take out their command capabilities." "Do it," Sarah urged. "We can't give them a chance to regroup." As Mara worked, alarms blared, and the chamber was flooded with red light. The guards would be coming soon. Just as she initiated the overload, Sarah glanced at Valera, who stood at the ready, eyes scanning the doorway. "Get ready," Sarah shouted as the door burst open and more guards flooded in. The ensuing battle was fierce and chaotic. Blaster bolts zipped through the air as Valera and Sarah fought side by side, their movements synchronizing in a rhythm of combat. The fierce sounds of battle echoed around them as they fought for every inch of ground. "Now," Mara shouted, the tension in her voice clear. With a final keystroke, the consoles flickered, and the screens exploded in a cascade of sparks. A shockwave rippled through the command ship, and alarms blared louder than ever. The lights flickered, and a moment of silence followed before the room was engulfed in chaos. The communication system had been destroyed, disrupting Cyrus' command. "Let's move," Sarah shouted, adrenaline surging as they fought their way back toward the exit, determined to rescue the captured soldiers and escape before Cyrus' forces could mount a counterattack. They had dealt a significant blow today, but the battle was far from over. As they made their escape, Sarah felt a sense of camaraderie and unity that had been forged in the fires of battle. They were fighting not just for their own survival, but for a brighter future, one where both humans and Selneri could coexist in peace. As Sarah and her team fought their way back through the corridors of the command ship, adrenaline surged through their veins. The alarms blared ominously, signaling that they were on borrowed time. The Selneri guards would soon regroup, and the urgency to escape intensified. "Keep moving," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. They raced through the flickering lights and smoke, determined to reach the exit before reinforcements arrived. Behind them, the sound of boots echoed through the hallways, a menacing reminder that they were being hunted. Valera led the charge, her agility unmatched as she cut through the remaining guards with deadly precision. The humans followed closely, their breaths coming in rapid bursts as they maneuvered through the maze-like corridors. With every turn, they felt the weight of their mission pressing down on them, a mission that could change the course of the war. Finally, they reached the airlock leading to the hangar bay, but their escape was cut short as a formidable group of elite Selneri soldiers emerged from the shadows, blocking their path. The guards wore dark armor marked with the insignia of Empress Styra, a symbol of their ruthless efficiency. "This is it," Rhea said, her voice tense. "We need to hold them off while Mara and the others escape." "No," Sarah countered, shaking her head. "We fight together. We're not leaving anyone behind." With fierce resolve, the team squared their shoulders and prepared for battle. The elite guards advanced, their weapons raised, and the air crackled with tension. Sarah could feel her heart pounding, but she focused on her training. "On my mark," Sarah yelled, and as the guards drew closer, she called out, "Now." The clash of weapons erupted as the two groups collided. Sarah fought alongside Valera, their movements blending seamlessly as they deflected blaster bolts and delivered swift counterattacks. Mara and Rhea provided covering fire, expertly picking off the guards as they fought to create an opening. But the elite soldiers were relentless, and the battle quickly escalated. Sarah's muscles burned with effort, but she refused to back down. With a fierce battle cry, she lunged forward, knocking one of the guards off balance and creating a brief opening. "Let's go. Now," she shouted to her team, adrenaline surging as they pressed through the small gap. They darted toward the hangar bay, where a few remaining ships were still operational. Sarah glanced back, her heart heavy as she saw the fierce determination in Valera's eyes. They fought like warriors of legend, refusing to yield. Finally reaching the hangar, they found a sleek Zelneri ship, its doors open and ready for departure. "Get in," Sarah commanded, her voice firm. "We'll cover you." As the team scrambled inside, Rhea quickly punched in the launch sequence, but just as the engines roared to life, a blinding light filled the hangar. Sarah turned to see Xyra herself standing in the doorway, her presence commanding and fierce. The Empress exuded a dark aura, her silver hair cascading around her shoulders, contrasting with the cold determination in her blue eyes. "You think you can escape so easily?" Xyra's voice was smooth yet laced with menace. "You've merely delayed the inevitable." Sarah's heart raced. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, and an instinctive fear gripped her. "We won't be intimidated," she declared, her voice steady. "You'll never conquer Earth." With a flick of her wrist, Xyra summoned a group of elite soldiers behind her. "You are foolish to think you can oppose me. My reign will not be challenged, and your resistance will be crushed." In that moment, something inside Sarah ignited. She could feel the fire of rebellion fueling her spirit, and she refused to let fear dictate her actions. "You may have power, but you underestimate humanity's will to fight," she replied, her voice rising with conviction. Rhea and Mara were still working frantically at the controls, but they had only seconds left. "Sarah," Rhea shouted, urgency clear in her tone. "We need to go." "Go. Now," Sarah yelled, her heart pounding as she steeled herself for what was to come. She positioned herself between Xyra and the ship, determination etched on her face. "I'll hold them off. Just get everyone out." Valera stepped forward, her expression fierce. "We fight together. I will not abandon you." The Empress's gaze flicked between them, calculating and cold. "You may fight, but you will not win." As the Excelinary elite soldiers advanced, Sarah and Valera prepared to stand their ground. The ship's engines roared to life, and with one last glance, Sarah locked eyes with Rhea. "Go," she commanded, her voice unwavering. With a powerful surge, the Excelinary ship took off, leaving Sarah and Valera to face the oncoming storm alone. Together, they fought against the odds, refusing to surrender, but they knew the battle was far from over. With the ship disappearing into the horizon, Sarah took a deep breath, determination radiating through her. They had struck a blow against their oppressors, but the war was just beginning. As long as there was hope, they would continue to fight. Sarah stood firm beside Valera, adrenaline coursing through her veins as the elite Excelinary soldiers advanced. The hangar bay felt like a battleground, the air thick with tension. Behind her, the roar of the departing ship faded into the distance, and with it the hope of immediate escape. But Sarah refused to give in. "Valera, we can't let them capture us," Sarah urged, her voice steady despite the fear bubbling beneath the surface. "We need to find a way out." The two warriors exchanged a quick glance, an unspoken bond forging between them. "We'll fight our way through," Valera replied, her expression fierce. "Together, we are stronger than they realize." As the elite soldiers closed in, weapons drawn, Sarah felt a fire ignite within her. The fight for humanity was more than just survival. It was about defiance and resilience. With a fierce battle cry, she lunged at the nearest guard, her movements fluid and calculated. Valera mirrored her, a whirlwind of precision and agility, as they struck in unison. The clash of weapons filled the hangar, blaster bolts sizzling through the air. Sarah ducked and rolled, narrowly avoiding a shot aimed at her head. She retaliated with a well-placed kick, sending the guard stumbling back. Valera, swift and lethal, dispatched another soldier with a series of fluid strikes, her blades flashing in the dim light. But the numbers were against them, and the elite guards pressed forward with ruthless determination. Just as Sarah felt the weight of despair creeping in, the comms crackled to life. It was Ria's voice, frantic yet composed. "Sarah, we've secured the ship. You need to hurry." "We're on our way," Sarah shouted back, determination fueling her every movement. "We'll meet you at the hangar entrance." With renewed vigor, Sarah and Valera pushed toward the hangar entrance, battling their way through the relentless guards. They fought side by side, their camaraderie growing with each successful strike. Each blow they landed was a testament to their unity, a defiance against the oppression they faced. As they neared the exit, however, a massive figure stepped forward, blocking their path. It was Styra herself, her eyes ablaze with fury and authority. "You cannot escape," she declared, her voice a chilling whisper that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. "You will pay for your insolence." Sarah's heart raced, but she stood tall. "We won't be your prisoners," she declared, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. Zara smirked, the expression devoid of warmth. "You are outmatched. You may have defeated a few guards, but I am not so easily vanquished." With a flick of her wrist, the air crackled with energy as she summoned a storm of dark energy. Sarah and Valera exchanged a glance, their resolve solidifying. "We fight together," Valera shouted, her voice fierce. As the storm of energy surged toward them, Sarah tapped into every ounce of strength and courage she possessed. They had come too far to turn back now. They leaped into action, dodging the dark energy and countering with their own attacks. "Now," Sarah yelled, and they charged at Sarah, weapons raised. The clash between them was electric. Power unlike anything Sarah had encountered, but she and Valera fought with the ferocity of warriors who refused to yield. With each strike, Sarah felt the weight of her people's hopes resting on her shoulders. They had to succeed. The fate of humanity depended on it. Just as they were gaining ground, the elite guards regrouped and surged forward, creating a barrier around Sarah. In that moment of distraction, Sarah caught a glimpse of the chaos beyond the hangar, a myriad of ships engaged in fierce aerial dogfights, the remnants of their joint forces battling against the oppressive Xelanary fleet. "We need to break through," Valera shouted, determination etched on her face. "If we can get past her, we can escape and regroup with our allies." With a nod of agreement, Sarah took a deep breath. "On my count," she whispered, her heart racing. 1, 2, 3. They launched themselves forward, a whirlwind of energy and defiance. Valera moved with unparalleled agility, weaving through the guards, while Sarah focused on Xyra, her gaze locked on the Empress's dark aura. The clash of their weapons echoed through the hangar as they pushed against the overwhelming force. Sarah felt the heat of the dark energy brushing against her skin, but she pressed on, refusing to falter. Just as it seemed they were gaining the upper hand, a blinding flash of light erupted around them, and Sarah found herself momentarily disoriented. The chaos around her dimmed as shadows enveloped her vision. When the light faded, Sarah realized she was standing before an ancient-looking portal, its surface shimmering with ethereal energy. It pulsed with a strange resonance, almost calling to her. "What is this?" Valera asked, bewildered, as they stumbled back from the portal. Zyra's voice dripped with malice as she recovered. "You think you can escape to another realm. You don't know the power you're meddling with." In that moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. "Maybe this is our chance," she said, glancing at Valera. "We could use this portal to escape and regroup." Together, Valira asked, determination reflecting in her eyes. Together, Sarah confirmed. As the elite guards closed in again, they made a split-second decision. With one last rallying cry, they surged toward the portal, diving into the shimmering light, just as Tyra unleashed another wave of dark energy. They vanished into the unknown, leaving behind the chaos of battle, but carrying with them the hope of humanity's fight against tyranny. The next chapter of their journey awaited them on the other side. The days in the echoing glade transformed into a whirlwind of training and preparation. Under the guidance of Ilara and the Council, Sarah and Valira immersed themselves in the teachings of the Guardians. Each lesson was an awakening, pushing them beyond their limits and tapping into strengths they had yet to discover. In the mornings, they practiced combat techniques, blending their human agility and strength with the unique fighting styles of the Glade's inhabitants. Sarah found herself paired with a warrior named Kel, who moved with a fluidity that seemed almost otherworldly. Together, they sparred in an arena surrounded by shimmering crystals, the sound of clashing weapons echoing through the glade. "Focus on your breath," Kel advised, his voice calm amidst the chaos of their training. "Your energy is your greatest weapon. Channel it." Sarah nodded, feeling the rhythm of her heartbeat sync with the flow of the fight. She concentrated on each movement, letting go of distractions and embracing the moment. With each strike, she felt more connected to the energy of the glade, her confidence building with every parry and counterattack. Meanwhile, Valira trained with a group of guardians, honing her skills in stealth and agility. Under the watchful eye of Ilara, she learned to harness the natural energies of the echoing glade, using the environment to her advantage. The way the crystals shimmered with energy seemed to empower her, amplifying her already impressive abilities. On one particularly bright morning, Sarah and Valira convened at the central gathering place after training. They shared their experiences and newfound skills, both exhilarated and exhausted. "This place is incredible," Valira said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I've never felt this in tune with my body. It's like I'm discovering a part of myself I never knew existed." Sarah smiled, feeling the same surge of empowerment. "It's as if the glade is awakening something in us. We're not just fighters anymore. We're becoming something more. Strategists, allies, a united force." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting vibrant hues across the sky, the council convened to discuss the next steps. Sarah and Valira sat among them, their hearts pounding with anticipation. "The time for hiding is over," the elder began, their voice resonating with authority. "You have trained well, but now we must strategize. The Empress will not rest until she finds you. We must take the fight to her. What do you propose?" Sarah asked, her determination palpable. Ilara stepped forward, a map of the surrounding territories laid out before them. "The Excelinary have established strongholds across multiple worlds, but they are vulnerable. Their supply lines and communication networks are essential to their power. If we disrupt these, we can weaken Xyra's grip on the galaxy." A murmur of agreement rippled through the council. "Our forces are scattered," Valira added. "But if we can unite them under a common cause, we could create a rebellion strong enough to challenge the Empress." "Exactly," Ilara replied. "We will form a coalition of all those who oppose the Excelinary. They will not expect an alliance of this magnitude, especially not with humans at the forefront." Sarah's heart raced at the thought of leading a rebellion. "What's our first step?" "Two of our scouts have reported a supply route not far from here," the elder explained. "If we can ambush their transport ships, we can send a clear message to the Empress." "Count us in," Sarah said, her voice unwavering. "We'll lead the charge." As the plan solidified, a sense of camaraderie blossomed among the Guardians and their newfound allies. They gathered in the clearing, preparing for their mission. As the moonlight bathed the glade in silver, Sarah felt a profound connection with her fellow warriors. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for a future. The night before their mission, the council held a gathering, igniting a fire in the center of their community. The flames danced and flickered, casting shadows on their determined faces. Stories of past battles were shared, each tale weaving a tapestry of resilience and defiance. In the heart of the gathering, Ilara spoke, her voice clear and strong. "Tomorrow, we will strike a blow against tyranny. Remember, our strength lies not just in our abilities, but in our unity. Together, we will forge a path toward freedom." The cheers that erupted echoed through the glade, a chorus of hope and determination. Sarah and Valera exchanged glances, their resolve solidified. They had come so far, but the road ahead would be perilous. As the gathering dissolved and the warriors retreated to their quarters, Sarah felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The stakes were higher than ever, but she had never felt more ready to confront the darkness threatening their existence. In the quiet of the night, Sarah lay awake, reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. She had found allies in unexpected places, and the bonds forged in the echoing glade would carry them through the challenges ahead. With dawn approaching, she knew that the time for action had come. They would rise together, armed with hope, determination, and the unwavering belief that freedom was worth fighting for. The Empress may have thought she could crush their spirit, but they were just beginning to ignite the fires of rebellion. The dawn broke over the echoing glade, casting a golden hue across the vibrant landscape. As the first light filtered through the crystalline structures, Sarah felt a surge of energy coursing through her. Today was the day they would take a stand against the Telenary Empire. Gathered at the central clearing, the Guardians and human fighters prepared for their mission. The air was thick with tension and anticipation, each warrior focused on the task ahead. Ilara and the Elder addressed the group, their voices steady, inspiring confidence and unity among the assembled forces. "Today, we embark on a mission that will reverberate across the galaxy," Ilara declared, her luminous eyes gleaming. "We will disrupt the Excelenary supply lines and show them that we will not be subdued." Sarah stood alongside Valera, her heart pounding in her chest. The weight of the moment pressed upon her, but she felt bolstered by the presence of her comrades. Together, they formed an alliance that transcended species and borders, united in a shared desire for freedom. "Remember," the Elder cautioned, "our enemies will be fierce and relentless. Stay close to one another and trust in your training." With a final rallying cry, the group set out, moving with stealth and purpose through the echoing glade. They followed Ilara, who guided them through hidden paths, each step bringing them closer to the Excelenary stronghold. As they approached the target area, Sarah could see the supply ships stationed within a fortified encampment, heavily guarded by Excelenary soldiers. The sight of their enemies sent a rush of adrenaline through her. This was the moment they had been training for, the culmination of their efforts and the beginning of their fight for liberation. "Let's move," Sarah whispered, signaling to the group. They fanned out, taking strategic positions behind the cover of the terrain. The time for stealth was over. It was time to strike. At Ilara's signal, they launched their attack. Bolts of energy and physical strikes erupted from all sides, catching the Excelenary guards off guard. Sarah felt her heart race as she engaged in combat, her training coming to life as she moved fluidly, dodging and countering with precision. "Forward!" Valera shouted, pushing through the enemy lines with relentless determination. They'd fought side by side, a whirlwind of strength and agility, each blow resonating with the purpose that fueled them. The Excelenary soldiers quickly regrouped, their disciplined formation presenting a formidable challenge. Yet the guardians of the echoing glade and the human fighters pressed on, their unity a powerful force against their oppressors. Just as Sarah thought they were gaining ground, a booming voice cut through the chaos. "What is this madness?" It was Tyra, the Empress herself, emerging from the shadows with a contingent of elite guards. Her eyes glowed with fury, and Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "Face me, if you dare," Thyra roared, her dark energy crackling around her like a storm. "Sarah, we have to distract her," Valera shouted over the clamor of battle. "We can't let her focus on our forces." "Let's do it." Sarah replied, determination igniting within her. Together, they charged toward Syra, weaving through the chaos, their hearts racing as they approached the Empress. As they neared, Syra unleashed a wave of dark energy that sent a shockwave through the area, knocking several fighters off their feet. But Sarah and Valera stood firm, refusing to back down. They had come too far and sacrificed too much to turn away now. Together, Valera cried, raising her weapon high. They synchronized their attacks, launching a coordinated assault against Syra. The Empress countered with a flurry of dark energy, but Sarah and Valera moved with a fluidity born from their training in the echoing glade. With each strike, they chipped away at Syra's defenses, their resolve unyielding. Just as it seemed they might prevail, Syra retaliated with a blinding burst of energy that sent them both sprawling to the ground. Dazed, Sarah struggled to her feet, her vision swimming as she scanned for Valera. "Get up!" Valera shouted, rejoining her side. "We can't let her win." With renewed determination, they regrouped and prepared for one final push. Drawing on the energy of the glade, they could feel the power coursing through them, fueling their strength. "We are not alone," Sarah shouted, rallying their allies. "We fight for our freedom, for our people." With a rallying cry, the combined forces surged forward, a wave of determination crashing against the dark tide of the Excellenary. The Guardians and human fighters fought with newfound vigor, inspired by the courage of Sarah and Valera. As the battle raged on, Sarah felt a shift in the energy of the battlefield. The Guardians and their allies began to push back against the Excellenary forces, their united front slowly gaining the upper hand. Now, Ilara's voice rang clear. "Focus all your energy on the Empress." In a final surge, they all directed their combined strength toward Syra, unleashing a powerful wave of energy that struck her squarely. The dark aura surrounding her flickered and faltered, and for the first time, fear flashed in her eyes. "No, this cannot be," Syra roared, her voice echoing through the chaos. With one final, coordinated attack, Sarah and Valera joined their allies, striking together with a force that resonated with the very essence of their fight for freedom. The energy collided with Syra, illuminating the battlefield in a blinding light. When the light faded, Syra lay defeated, her power extinguished. The remaining Excellenary soldiers faltered, confusion and fear spreading among them as they realized their leader had fallen. Cheers erupted from the Guardians and fighters as they surged forward, a tide of victory washing over them. They had done it. Together, they had fought against tyranny and emerged victorious. In that moment, Sarah felt a sense of triumph unlike any she had ever known. The fight was not just for survival, it was for a future free from oppression. They had come together as allies, transcending the barriers of species and worlds. As the echoes of celebration filled the air, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. They would reclaim their worlds, unite their people, and ensure that the legacy of their fight would resonate across the galaxy for generations to come. With her friends by her side and hope in her heart, Sarah gazed toward the horizon, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. They had fought for their freedom, and now it was time to ensure that their victory would not be in vain.